Hello and welcome back to another edition of Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. It was October 14th and the Cardinals were still winless. They had a great chance to get back on track facing a Utica team that they had traditionally dominated, winning 15 of their 16 all-time meetings. That one loss, though, that came last year. Fisher was looking for revenge and a W in Saturday night's thriller. The Cardinals got onto the board first. Ball hawking corner DeMar Nelson easily jumps this through and takes off for the house. But quarterback Vinny Aloy was not about to give up 6. The quarterback forced Nelson out of bounds and Fisher would have to settle for a field goal. On the first play of Utica's next drive, Malcolm Stowe somehow escapes the grasp of Justin Rivera and takes off 44 yards to the end zone. A botched extra point would leave the score at 6-3. Right before the half, Fisher would get back on the board. Jonathan Letta pushing into the end zone for 6. Then, utilizing a funky formation, Alejandro Utset would find the end zone for 2. 11-6 Cardinals at the half. On the very first play of the second half, Utica's Derek Sekuterski snatches Letta's pass at the line for an interception. The Cardinal defense would hold strong though and only give up a field goal. After another defensive stand, Utica lines up to punt and blocked. Brennan Thompson then recovers his own block in the end zone for a touchdown, 18-9 Fisher. A defensive goal line stand would set up the Cardinal offense right on the goal line. Ryan Ingerson can't quite get out of the end zone, and Utica is awarded a safety. On the ensuing possession, Utica's offense starts to click. Aloy to Donovan Brunson from 11 yards out to tie the score late in the fourth. Lined up on the 45-yard line with no time on the clock, Joshua Michaels drops back and launches a bomb to the end zone. It's grabbed by Will Kuhn, but he can't hold on. Pass is incomplete, and we're going to overtime. After swapping field goals in the first overtime, Fisher had the ball first in the second. Letta gets sacked here on 3rd down and goal, and the Cardinals would have to settle for 3. Then the Cardinal defense would force a 3-and-out for the Pioneers. Maki Medici lines up the tie, and it's good. 24-all, going on to a third overtime. The Pioneers moved methodically down the field in the third OT and got 6 thanks to Lindell Reed. However, their 2-point conversion would fail. The Cardinals needed to answer, and they would. James Chambers takes the handoff off the left side and dives in the end zone from 8 yards out to tie things up at 30. Here we go, the 2-point conversion. This could win it for the Cardinals. Letta takes the option to the right side and is stonewalled at the goal line. Here we go, 4th overtime now. Joshua Michaels takes the snap here on 3rd down, looks for his receiver over the middle, and it's incomplete to Will Blake. Devin Zekowitz puts 3 on the board for Fisher to put the Cardinals up 33-30. Here we go now, the Cardinal defense does its job again. Medici from 31, and it's good. 33-all, we're heading to a 5th overtime. A Utica 3-and-out, Medici from 39 yards. He'd finish the game 5 for 5, 36-33 Pioneers. Fisher could end it here with a touchdown. Chambers takes the handoff to the left side, plows through 2 defenders, and the Cardinals are winless no more. 39-36 in 5 overtimes, the longest game in Fisher's program history. Chambers finished the day with 123 yards rushing and the 2 overtime touchdowns. The Cardinals ended the game with only 26 yards passing. The win improved Fisher to 1-5 on the season. After the break, senior offensive lineman Mike Mintel comes on to give his take on the Cardinals' first victory, so stay with us. Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by senior offensive lineman Mike Mintel. Happy to have you on, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, 5 overtimes. I mean, what a game. Something ridiculous. We were talking a little bit before. I mean, never been a part of anything like that before. First of all, how are you feeling? I saw a lot of guys starting to get banged up as that game went along. You all right physically right now?
Yeah, physically, I'm pretty banged up right now, but I know a lot of the other guys are on the team. It was a tough physical game, and I'm happy we came out with the win.
Yeah, so, offensively, moving the ball in regulation was a little bit of an issue for both sides. Both sides didn't put up huge offensive numbers through the first 4 quarters, but you guys got particularly kind of struggled passing the ball, only 26 total passing yards. So I know as a lineman, you always say, you'd rather run the ball. That's kind of what your forte is, but it was a little frustrating that they kind of completely shut down that aspect of your offense.
Yeah, they definitely had a good secondary that was able to cover our receivers, and you know, with the great offensive line that we do have, I think we did what we could and we ran the ball right down their throat. And I think that's a good reflection on some of the seniors and the good people we have on the offensive line. And I mean, I credit James Chambers, our running back, to having a magnificent game.
Yeah, and we'll get to James in a second, but back to passing. You almost doubled that passing yardage total just in one play. The last play of regulation, Joshua Michaels drops back almost to a 45-yard bomb. Looked like it was in Will Kuhn's hands for a second. Ended up being ultimately incomplete, but I know the crowd, everyone went wild for that. What was the feeling on the field? That knew there was like kind of 15 seconds of that play.
Yeah, our offensive coordinator drew up a good play right before we came out of that huddle, and as a lineman, I was on the field there, and I could see the ball in one of the receivers' hands. I didn't know who it was, and I just heard the crowd go nuts, and then as soon as I could peek my head down the field, I saw the ball was on the ground. So, it was kind of disappointing, but at the same time, I knew we were in for a long haul in the overtimes.
Yeah, and you mentioned your old coordinator, Coach Kramer. He actually, he's typically watching the game from on top of the press box, but with about 5.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, he actually came down and came to speak to you guys. So what was he trying to get into your guys' heads at that point?
I think he was just trying to keep our offense as a unit all composed as one. Certain things were breaking down, and I think as a leader, he came down and really united us together, and ultimately that helped us pull out for the victory.
Yeah, and so you go into the overtimes, back and forth. One overtime you guys are the first ones to the ball, and then the next one you'd be the second one. As an offensive player, did you prefer being the first offense out there that kind of got to set the tone, or did you like responding to what you could put up there better?
As an offense, I like to respond just because I know like this is what we need to get done. It's do or die. Like we need a field goal or we need a touchdown. This is what we have to do. But overall, when you have to go back-to-back drives as an offense, it's extremely tiring. So I'm glad we were able to put points on the board each time we had the ball.
Yeah, and you alluded to earlier, James Chambers. He just seemed to get stronger as the game went on. Numerically, Utica did a decent job bottling him up for the first 3 quarters or so. But once that fourth quarter and those overtimes hit, he was breaking off big chunks. So when the game was on the line, do you feel that he just kept it going, and was he saying stuff like that to keep you guys going as well as an offensive line?
Yeah, I mean James is usually pretty a quiet guy, but when it comes down to it and in the heat of the moment like that, he just gets in the zone. So you'll see him a lot before the plays. He'll put his head down, and then as soon as the ball is snapped, he just goes. He takes off, and he does what he does best. And I think this game he became the seventh running back in Fisher football history to receive over 2,000 career rushing yards. So it's great to be a part of that, and you got to give credit to the guys previously in his career that have helped him get to that milestone.
Yeah, and obviously you and that offensive line, obviously big part of that. You on that right side next to fellow senior Kyrie Demos. Kind of feel that's the right side. It's kind of usually the typical like rushing side. So do you feel like having you and Kyrie over there, you're able to kind of open up things, having such an experienced guy standing next to you?
Yeah, I definitely feel more comfortable playing next to Kyrie. He's a great leader on the offensive line. He's been a 4-year starter for us, and he makes a lot of good reads and stuff. And before the play goes, he points blitzes out, and he's able to identify certain coverages and things like that that as an offensive line we need to know before the play so we can be successful.
All right. So moving on, just more to a more general. It hasn't been quite the season you guys have expected. Probably not going to the postseason. So does that make things, as a senior, probably one of your last chances to play competitive football, is make it a little more real since probably definitively, November 11th is going to be your last time on a football field?
Yeah, I think our main focus right now is we just want to win out. We want to become a 500 team, 5-5, and whatever we got to do to get there is really how we're going to turn this season around. And I think beating Utica last week in the overtimes was that first step.
Yeah, and then the next step would obviously be if to connect this upcoming week. You guys won here last year, 34-17. But this year their defense has been relatively stingy. They've only allowed 30 points in one game against Brockport, and Brockport's done that to basically everybody. And they, you guys rely a lot on that ground game. They only allowed 3.1 yards per carry. So what are you guys looking to attack in that Ithaca defense?
I think we got to keep running the ball. I mean, that's what's been working for us, and that's what we're doing best. So, just continue to identify blitzes, identify linebackers, pick up blitzes, and really just make sure that we're doing the right thing so that the running backs behind us can get the yards that we need to win.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike, and hopefully the winning streak can continue this upcoming week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, after the break, senior captain David Carroll returns to the show to give his thoughts on the overtime victory. So stay here.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates. Our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined yet again by senior linebacker and captain David Carroll. Happy to have you back on the show.
Yeah, pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so 5 overtimes, longest game in program history. You really had to fight for it. And was that a fitting way for you guys to go out there and get your first win of the year?
Yeah, that pretty much made sense. We've been scrapping all year. We've been in very close games up to this point, so it only made sense that we finally got it in heat of battle, going all the way to 5 overtimes and wanted to last almost 4 hours. So it's pretty fitting.
Yeah, and so before we were talking about all those overtimes, let's bring it way back a lot earlier to halftime. You guys were actually up 11-6 at the half. It was the first game of the season. You actually had a lead going in the locker room. To change your kind of mindset or the approach of the team going and coming out in the second half and having to defend a lead as opposed to having to catch back up?
Well, I mean, it didn't really change our mindset going into this game. I guess you could say it might have been a little bit different from other games as what coaches did for adjustments and things like that. But, I mean, overall, we had a great game plan going into this week. We came out, especially talking on the defensive side of the ball, we came out flying around in the beginning of the game. So we were just trying to keep that momentum rolling. We were trying to just keep playing physical football and just trying to play great defense, great offense, and special team across the boards for the second half.
Yeah, and so, when Utica comes down, drives down and ties up in the fourth, they force overtime, and your defense, you guys did a pretty good job on 4 of those 5 overtimes forcing field goals. Fortunately for you guys, Maki Medici made all 4. He was 5 for 5 in the game, so how frustrating was that you guys basically did your job and they just kept on knocking those through. You had to keep going back out there.
Well, that's the life of college overtime. It's not like the NFL where after 2 possessions it can be over. If they hit a field goal and we come back and match it, we just keep on going. So our mindset throughout the entire thing, throughout the entire 5 overtimes was just keep playing defense, keep doing what we have to do. We knew our offense was going to come through for us, which they did in that 5th overtime, and they did earlier after we gave up a touchdown too. So our offense really had our back, and we were just trying to leave what we had left out on the field for them too.
Which overtime period would you say was the most stressful for you? I know that you got in some tough situations. You had to keep going back out there. Was there a single kind of situation where it was more difficult maybe for you guys to get off the field? Or?
Throughout that whole overtime period, the whole 5 overtimes, I'd come off to the sideline and I'd just kind of take a knee and pray and hope that our offense and our kicker were going to keep getting the job done, and every single time they did because they worked together so well. And Devin Zikowitz had a great game. I think he was either 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 too. So all of them were incredibly stressful when we came off, especially after we gave up the touchdown. So they were all equally as stressful, but there was never a doubt in my mind that our offense was going to get the job done. So nothing really stands out.
Yeah, and you personally, you finished the night with 20 tackles, and Mark Rubin and I, we were doing the broadcast, and we noted that kind of a lot of the seniors like that kept on stepping up there in the overtime. Be yourself, Evan Majewski made a few big plays, and just talked about Mike Mintel, James Chambers did a good job carrying the offense with his legs. So it's kind of one of those things where as tired as you are, those leadership instincts kind of kick in, and those type of things that keep you going.
Yeah, I mean, at that point there, you're just giving everything you have to finish that football game and squeak out a win. I don't know, I mean, Evan Majewski played great on the defensive side of the ball. I thought as a whole unit, though, we all came out and kept fighting. It wasn't necessarily 1 or 2 individuals. I mean, there was guys all over the field making plays in that overtime. whether it be myself, Evan, Justin. Our defensive line probably had one of the best games that since I've been at Fisher, I've seen a defensive line had. They were absolutely amazing. So I can't say that any credit deserves to go more to one guy or another. Our whole defense stepped up and played incredibly well as a unit in those overtimes.
Yeah, and I just picked out Evan because he had some big tackles
Yes,
for loss back there. But I talked to Mike about Chambers' impact on the offense. So you got to watch from the sideline, and just watching from the booth, he seemed to get stronger as that game went on. And carries that might have gone for 3 yards in the first quarter were going for 7, 10 yards in that overtime. Was it watching him? Was it kind of inspiring to you guys to see him just keep on powering forward and helping carry that offense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, James is one of the best athletes that I've ever played with personally. The guy is just unbelievable on the field. Off the field, too, he's a great person. Watching him on the field was definitely inspiring to us, as well as watching that offensive line every play, firing off the ball. We had guys like Ross Mathewson, Mantel. Ross was injured, playing through it. We had guys just fighting through all sorts of conditions to get that win. So absolutely, James made a huge impact on our defense with how hard he was running, but just the overall effort of that offense was given, man. It inspired us to keep pushing, too.
Yeah, and Ross he was joining you guys out there on that defensive side, too, up with some of those big stands. And you mentioned, a lot of guys banged up, and it seemed like as those overtimes went on, more and more guys are, a little slower to get up and stuff like that. So I don't know if you've already met up with the whole team, but what do you think, as a whole? You think everyone's recovering all right from that long game?
Yeah. I mean, every football game has an element of brutality to it. That's just the way the game's played. So we're all used to being a little sore, a little banged up, and we all are. Maybe a little bit extra after playing 100 plays on offense and 100 plays on defense, but it's the usual experience. Maybe a little bit more so sore, but got to take a little bit of extra run, a little bit of extra workout, get the lactic acid out. We'll be ready to go this upcoming weekend.
Right, 1-5. Got that 1 in the win column now.
Yeah.
How relieved is the locker room? Is a little bit, I don't want to say like carefree, but you guys feel a little bit better now that you have that monkey off your back and you're able to now you're not a team without a win.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a weight that's been lifted off all of our shoulders. We've been in a lot of close games, and we couldn't just figure it out at the end to get a win here or there. So to finally get it, it definitely, like you said, is a little bit more loose feeling to our whole team in general. We all, especially on, you could tell Sunday when we came in for meetings, the atmosphere in there was a lot happier, obviously, after a win, a lot more loose. So we're excited. I think I said it a couple weeks ago when I was on the show. We're excited. We always feel that we can win every game. We're going to keep coming, keep pressing. And right now we're standing at 1-5, and we feel completely confident that we can finish this season out 5-5. So we're just going to keep grinding, keep playing.
And how important was that win for some of even the younger guys? Even looking specifically at the offensive side, John Letta, freshman, that was his first win in the program. Josh Michael is also getting some playing time. His first win is kind of a regular contributor. It's kind of big for guys that maybe haven't been around it before to kind of get into that winning mentality and kind of get back to what you guys are used to.
Yeah, absolutely, especially like you're saying, Letta and JD, getting the first win for those guys. I mean, that's huge for them, get their confidence up. And it gets our whole team's confidence up because there's, not that we're defeated in ourselves, but you can see it sometimes after a big loss. The guys they're a little bit drained, more drained, where after this win, you can see coming off the field, although it might have been the most physically exhausting game, mentally we were the strongest that we've been all year. So it was a huge win for everybody on the team, especially the young guys, to see how hard you actually have to fight to get a win in such a great conference. So it was great for everyone.
Yeah, and going outside the conference, first time you guys played Ithaca when they're not an Empire Rate foe, got them up this week. They're 3-3, and if you look at them statistically, I mean, they're what a 3-3 team would suggest. Nothing really super jumps off the board statistically. So what are you guys looking at defensively that you guys got to shut down? I know you guys went out and won last year. You actually had a touchdown that game last year. What are you trying to pick up on some stuff from that game that's going to carry over to be successful again this one?
Well, going into Ithaca, no matter what their record is always going to be a tough game. They have a great stadium, great fans. Always are a great football team, no matter what their record says. Always playing on grass is a different feeling too, so we got to be prepared for that. But Ithaca is great, always been great in the run game. So, we always try to focus on that first. We want to shut down the run, make teams try to beat us in the air, try to get them in third and longs, and have them throw 20 yards down the field and let our guys in the secondary make plays, which we've been doing more and more every week. So, I mean, especially for myself as an inside linebacker, we're always playing run first, so we want to come down and we want to make sure we're stopping them on the run and then make them beat us through the air.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dave. Hope we can have you back on again after another couple wins on this season.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, James.
All right. We're not done yet. Coach Brian Schnell will be on with me to discuss the JV football program, and you won't want to miss it.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing.
I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels.
After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak.
Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound, having someone check on me, assures me that I'm not forgotten.
Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise.
We're the clients.
We are the clients.
We are the clients of Meals on Wheels.
America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus. Part one. We're here now with part one of a two-part series on kind of the JV program and other parts of the Fisher program that we haven't talked about in previous years. So here with part one, we're here with JV head coach Brian Schnell. Happy to have you on, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
So, we were talking a little bit before the cameras came on. I don't think a lot of people know a whole lot about the JV program. The Fisher Athletic website doesn't even really update on anything that's going on with you guys. So, first of all, talk about the JV season, the way it's gone so far. I believe you guys are 2-2 on the year. How's it went?
Yep. So we started the season the week after the week of the Courage Bowl. We play on Sundays. Started the season against Alfred. Unfortunately, we lost. Like you said, we're 2-2 this year. Then we ended up playing Hobart at home, and it was a tough one. We lost 16-12. It was a really close game. Our guys fought for 4 quarters, and it was great. Then we traveled to Utica a few weeks later and got the W against Utica for the first win for the program as a whole, which was great to bring home to those varsity guys. And then last week we had our final JV game our final game so far. We beat Morrisville at home on a very exciting 4th and 20, and the guys pulled out a huge W. Defense came with a big stop at the end.
Yeah. So what kind of differentiates the JV program from the varsity program? You guys practice together and all that. It's kind of all still kind of all under the big roof of Fisher football.
Yeah. So we're one big team. What we really do is we take the guys who normally won't get a lot of reps or can't play or won't play on Saturdays, and we'll bring them to games on Sundays. It's primarily freshmen and sophomores, just to really give them a chance to start to understand our concept, understand our schemes, and just gives them an opportunity for the guys that really don't play on Saturdays to still get to play football. It's different. You show up to practice every day, and sometimes the guys are on scout team, and some guys are getting reps on varsity, but still it gives you something to want to play for and something to show up for each and every week.
Yeah, and how important is it to get those guys in the field? Because it's always kind of that fine line between putting someone up on the varsity level where maybe they'll be kind of a spot player and bring them down in the JV where maybe they'll get all the reps. So how important are these JV games to kind of get guys on the field and get them going?
Oh, it's huge. I stress to the guys each and every week that this is how you win your ticket on the bus, or how you win that varsity home jersey and get on the field for Specs. I think of 2 kids in particular on the team this year. We'll start with Darrell Hutcherson, number 56. He's playing a lot on Specs for varsity now. What he really did on JV was show up every game and give it 110%, and flew around and made plays, and that's how we got him on Specs. And the other one everyone's talking about now is John Letta. John made the start in our second JV game, and then 2 weeks later he's making his first varsity start against Hartwick. So it's huge. John got that experience there, and now he's doing it on Saturdays for the games that really, really, really count.
Yeah, so you can see how quickly it gets. Guys can move up So you're also, as you mentioned, you're coaching the bigger kind of Fisher football program. So you're listed as the outside linebackers coach. How do you kind of balance running the JV program with helping out on the varsity team?
You know, it's a very fun challenge. Me, Coach Carroll, and Coach Venditti spend a lot of hours together each and every day, and it's kind of, we do our varsity thing, and then we prepare for JV on Sundays. We show up, we get our depth charts ready, and we kind of just what our kids do. We let them go out there. We go out there and have a lot of fun together, and we say on defense we have this thing we call it juice, and that's the one thing we pride ourselves on. JV is going out and having fun and just bringing the juice for these kids, and it's a little bit of a different atmosphere because there's not a lot of people, so it's tough for some kids to get excited, but that's something that us as coaches do very well, is that we bring the juice for these guys, and they get super excited, just go out there and have fun and start bashing some heads.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you only have those 4 games scheduled, so where does kind of the JV team kind of go from here?
So what we really do now is kind of just, a lot of those guys now have made their stride. Some of them are getting reps on varsity now, even after, like Darrell and John, like I talked about earlier. But they show up to practice each and every day. Some guys are, like I said again, they're getting reps on varsity, or they're doing the important things on scout team, whether it's scout specs or scout defense or scout offense. And you know, it's still an opportunity for them to come out and play football every single day. And we talk about those guys on scout team every day too. You know, who's doing a good job here, who's doing a good job there. And you know, next thing you know, these kids could be on varsity. We're hoping to get one more game, but doesn't look like it as of right now. But these kids still show up every day, give it everything they got, and I appreciate them for it.
Yeah, and you yourself played here at Fisher, so you know, much like many of the coaches in the program. So same question I ask basically everyone that comes on that has that experience. And what kind of brought you back, and what about your experience as a Fisher player? Have you been able to use now as a Fisher coach?
You know, I'm very thankful to Coach Bosberg for offering me the opportunity to come back here. I've always dreamt about the opportunity to come back and coach here at Fisher. There's so much I learned here. And you know, really the main thing I learned is that I had a great group of coaches during my 4 years here. And they're really part of the reason why I do what I do. It's because they instilled in me so much that it's not necessarily always about them, but it's about my players. And I always felt like they cared about me. Even guys that weren't my position coach, they all knew my name. They all cared about what I was doing, how I was doing in school. And you know, it's just, I want to give that opportunity to the kids on this team, because that's what the opportunity that was afforded to me when I went here. And it helps too that, you know, in my 4 years we were pretty dang good. And you know, I'm hoping to continue that tradition here at Fisher. I know it hasn't looked like it this season with our record, but we're still Fisher football, and we're going to show up each and every week, and you're in for a game no matter what.
Yeah, and you know, we brought you on to talk about the JV program, but while we have you here, I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts on Saturday's 5 overtime kind of spectacular. What are your thoughts on Saturday? You know, as a coach on the sideline, what did you see? You know, it was a long one.
Again, I talk about this a lot. I always say this to my guys: I want you to give me everything you got for 60 minutes. Fortunately, they had to give it to me for a little bit longer. They got to play some free football. But it was just a great experience for our guys. I couldn't be prouder for them, or happier and prouder of them for what they did going out there for basically 5.5 quarters of football and just giving us everything they got. I mean, I think specifically one of my position group players, Evan Majewski, they ran 97 plays, and Evan Majewski was on the field for all 97 plays. Brennan Thompson, one of our corners, was on the field for all 97 plays. You know, those guys really gave it their all, and I was really excited for them to finally get that opportunity to have that win, and they did it for themselves, and they did it, and I couldn't be prouder.
All right, well, thank you very much for being on, Coach. Come back in future weeks to get part 2 of the JV kind of football series with Coach Venditti and Coach Ryan Carroll. Thanks for tuning in for this show. That's all we have for this week. Be sure to tune back next week after the Cardinals face the Ithaca Bombers. For Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.